For women and families struggling without a home, soon they'll have a safe place to go. Release and relief. How releasing dozens of butterflies helps a local woman deal with her grief of losing a sibling. A live look at our city there. A beautiful Friday, and we've got more sunshine on the way tomorrow, but then you're gonna have to bring out the umbrellas. Colette Kennedy will break it down for us later in the program. Good evening, I'm Katerina Georgieva. Thanks for watching. Cruel and unusual. That's how the Windsor Minor Hockey Association is describing new local health unit rules that came into effect today. Those require all players and spectators 12 and up to be fully vaccinated to enter any recreation facility in Windsor, Essex. Now, the Hockey Association is hoping to have the rules relaxed. The CBC's Jason Vio joins us live now with more. Jason, what do they want to see happen here?
Well, Katerina, the Windsor Minor Hockey Association says they want the health unit to be more reasonable so young people can play after getting their first shot. The association started an online petition hoping to get the attention of the Windsor-Essex County Health Unit and to have them rescind that order. Now, right now, players need both doses in order to hit the ice. So if someone were to get their first shot recently or even today, for example, they'd need to wait 2 weeks to get the second and another 2 weeks after that. And while they're waiting, they can't play. The local health unit's regulation goes beyond what the province and even the city have imposed. The province doesn't require kids ages 12 to 17 to be fully vaccinated if they want to play. After that came out, the city made it mandatory, but gave them until November to be fully vaccinated, and they could have played in the meantime. But now, the Windsor Minor Hockey Association wants local public health officials to reconsider and be more lenient.
It's cruel and unusual. Like I said, these kids have been through enough. Some of these kids were never going to get vaccinated, but did so to play hockey or just partake in sport. And now they're being told that's not good enough. We'll just change the parameter one more time, and you'll have to wait or not partake until 14 days after your second dose.
He says about 75 kids in Windsor Minor hockey will be benched because of this. That's out of the roughly 600 in the league. It's unclear, though, how many youth in total will be impacted by this, as many other groups and leagues use recreation facilities right across Windsor-Essex. So far, that petition received more than 600 signatures in 3 days. Katerina.
Thanks, Jason. The CBC's Jason Vio live tonight. For women and families struggling with homelessness, a designated shelter just for them. It's a first for the city. And for those who work with those impacted, they say this is life-changing.
We are going to be able to create a safe, dedicated space to support this vulnerable population.
This used to be the Comfort Inn, but soon it'll become a safe, temporary home for those who need it.
It means more supported space for women and families, and really the community being able to continue to laser focus on getting families and getting women out of the shelter system and back into the community, which is really ultimately where they belong.
The city now owns it, thanks to a $7.75 million grant from the province. Once renovated, it will have upwards of 32 beds plus 15 rooms for families, and it'll be pet-friendly. It'll be run by the Welcome Center, which already supports families, but usually they're set up in motels. Soon, a safe place to go.
I think that people are looking at it as a building, and we're really looking at the deeper meaning of what it means to women and families. This means no more calls where I have to say I don't have room. This means not turning people away because they have pets that they don't want to abandon in order to access shelter. We find that with women and families particularly, if shelter space isn't available, they are more likely to stay in unsafe situations.
Laforet explains how this demographic has specific needs.
When you have to consider different safety needs that a single mother might have, when you're looking at childcare needs, when you're looking at multiple marginalizations that women experience comparatively to men. And so what that speaks to is really needing to have a gender-based analysis to how you provide services.
That means supporting gender-diverse clientele as well.
We recognize that this move allows us to really branch off and look at that even more in depth, to sort of see what the gender diverse needs are, gender non-binary needs are, and ways that we can really leverage the space in this building to ensure that no person is left without shelter when they need it most.
Construction was set to start next week, but it's been delayed because the building will be used as an isolation center for a few more weeks. That's because the health unit is doing a round of testing for those within the shelter system, and folks will need a place to go. After that, officials are looking forward to a March 2022 opening day.
I'm physically jittery. It's difficult not to be. It's not a Tom Cruise jumping up and down on the couch moment quite yet. I think that would be a little strange, but it's feeling pretty close. This is huge. This is 5 years we have been looking for a space like this.
An update now on COVID-19 in Windsor, Essex. As the region continues its fight at keeping the pandemic at bay, the death toll climbs. The local health unit is reporting 2 new deaths linked to COVID-19, a man in his 50s and a woman in her 60s. The death toll now stands at 456. And since Wednesday, 86 new cases have been added to the region's count. U.S. drug maker Merck says it has developed a pill to effectively treat COVID-19. An early study seems promising. Merck says its experimental antiviral drug cuts the risk of hospitalization and death by half. If the U.S. Food and Drug Administration approves this new pill, it would become the first oral treatment for COVID-19. One Canadian expert is encouraged.
But certainly the fact that it showed a 50% mortality in those who had mild to moderate disease but at high risk of progressing, and it showed a benefit of reducing mortality up to 50%. I mean, that would be huge if that is borne out in subsequent and larger trials.
A couple of cautions around today's news. The results were released by the company and have not been peer reviewed, nor has the raw data behind the results been released. As for this country, Merck says it has initiated a rolling submission to Health Canada that allows health officials to review safety and efficacy data on the medication while later stage clinical trials are still underway. Around 500,000 people in Ontario earn the minimum wage, and today their pay rate went up by 10 cents an hour. But as Queen's Park reporter Mike Crawley explains, some are less than enthusiastic about the increase.
Brady Hacker earns minimum wage stocking shelves at a grocery store. He is getting a pay increase effective today, but he's not impressed with the size of it.
10 cents is that is, if you work 40 hours a week, that's an extra $4 a week. That's not going to make any real difference for anyone, especially considering how prices have been going up over the last little while.
Hacker directs his frustration at Premier Doug Ford.
Considering his government spent a good solid chunk of this pandemic touting grocery store workers and other essential workers as absolute heroes, how dare he?
Today's 10-cent increase is the result of legislation from Ford's Progressive Conservatives shortly after they got elected. In 2018, the government froze Ontario's minimum wage at $14 an hour. Last year, it went up by 25 cents. Today's hike ticks the hourly rate up to $14.35.
I don't want to create an economy of minimum wage jobs. That's why, for example, I'm encouraging people to go into the skilled trades.
At a news conference this week at a Toronto brewery, the Labour Minister brushed off questions about the 10-cent increase.
293,000 jobs in Ontario are going unfilled. I think this is a great opportunity for workers out there to earn bigger paychecks.
The pandemic has created both opportunity and turmoil in the job market. While some firms are looking to hire skilled workers, many vacancies are at the lower end of the pay spectrum.
People cannot afford to make ends meet already, and certainly a 10-cent an hour minimum wage increase is just adds insult to injury.
The 10 cents, to be honest, is not a wage increase. It's basically an adjustment to deal with inflation.
Ontario's minimum wage is the third highest among the provinces. In Alberta, it's $15 an hour, and in British Columbia, it's $15.20. Mike Crawley, CBC News, Toronto.
The latest Statistics Canada numbers show the GDP shrank in July by 0.1%, a decline not as bad as some expected, but it points to weak recoveries in some sectors amid the pandemic. Nisha Patel has this report.
Canadians rushed back to patios and restaurants this summer and spent more time at gyms and amusement parks. A few bright spots of hope for an economy still struggling to emerge from the clouds of COVID-19. Canadians also traveled more as pandemic restrictions eased. That helped boost the accommodation sector as well as airline activity. Still, it wasn't enough to offset the weakness in agriculture. Crop production plunged thanks to the extreme heat in Western Canada. And manufacturing stalled as supply chain issues and part shortages continue to hurt automakers. Economists say as we head into fall and cold weather, the next few months could be a real test of economic strength.
We're already seeing fewer and fewer people sitting on patios around the cities. That's going to impact the economy. What we can hope is that the return of school this September will allow for more economic activity from parents.
The virus is still the biggest threat to Canada's recovery. With cases surging in provinces like Alberta, that could create a two-speed economy. If growth in some parts of the country is hit harder, the hope is other areas will continue to bounce back. Experts say implementing tools like vaccine passports will help keep businesses open.
We see that with vaccine passports, we can keep transmission, even in some of these high contact services sectors, to low levels. If virus cases pick up notably during this fourth wave, we might still not have to shut down as much of the economy as we did during prior waves.
Canada's economy is still 2% smaller than it was before the pandemic hit. So while we've come a long way, full recovery is still the goal, a goal economists say isn't likely to happen until the end of next year. Nisha Patel, CBC News, Toronto.
Throughout the pandemic, more and more Canadians have been doing their shopping online, hunting for the best deals at some of the world's biggest fast fashion retailers. CBC's Marketplace took a close look at some of the products being sold. As Charles C. Agro shows us, some have been found to contain potentially harmful chemicals.
So like they have sweatpants and like cargo pants.
This is how 14-year-old Camilla Diaz and her friends find their clothes. Ultra fast fashion. There's plenty to choose from, and by most accounts, it's cheap.
How is a raincoat $9.89?
But what's the real cost of these cheap clothes? To find out, Marketplace did some online shopping too, from 6 super popular retailers that don't have brick and mortar stores in Canada.
Country of manufacture was China.
We asked a team led by the University of Toronto to put 38 articles of clothing and other items under the microscope, testing for chemicals and heavy metals that may be toxic in some quantities. 20% of the items had elevated levels of those elements. Environmental chemist Miriam Diamond flagged the elevated levels of phthalates on this bag from Zaful, a chemical used to make plastic pliable and a known endocrine disruptor.
Endocrine disruptors are a wide range of chemicals that have the ability to alter our hormone levels. The phthalates in particular are known to disrupt male reproductive system function.
But that's not all our tests uncovered. The levels of lead in this kid's coat from Shein were found to be nearly 20 times higher than Health Canada's allowable limit in children's products.
I think this trench coat is hazardous waste.
Of the 6 retailers we tested, only Shein, Zaful, and AliExpress's items were flagged as toxic or concerning. All say they've pulled these products from their Canadian sites while they continue to investigate. And Zaful says they've refunded customers who bought that clear tote bag.
You can wash something like...
Experts suggest washing your clothes before you wear.
It'll reduce your own exposure. But over the long term, that's not a good enough solution.
Still, the safest bet when it comes to chemicals on clothing is to buy less ultra-fast fashion.
I saw this really cute cardigan.
Something Camilla says she'll try to do from now on. Charles C. Agro, CBC News, Toronto.
You can tune in tonight for the full results of Marketplace's investigation into ultra-fast fashion retailers. Find out what you can do to keep you and your family safe when shopping online. Watch the season premiere tonight at 8 p.m. on CBC TV and GEM. Now to a story that might make your spirit soar. A Windsor woman has released more than 80 monarch butterflies this season. It's not the first time she's participated in a butterfly release, but this latest one held a special meaning. It's helped her come to terms with the loss of a loved one.
It's incredible. Should we release you? So we have 79 released, and this is 80 and 81 that will get released later today. They'll come out, and well, I'll open it up. Hopefully they'll go. And then we've got 82 here. They are incredibly strong. If you look at them, I call them tanks with wings. They are solid creatures. They're beefy animals, and they're strong. They look fragile, but they're not really. So that's what I did for the first few years, but I'd only get 3 or 4 butterflies coming out. Like I'd only find 3 or 4 caterpillars, and it wasn't hard to nurture them to become butterflies. But on this particular day, I was compelled to stay, and I was kind of having this inner dialogue with myself, this like, come on, you've got other things to do. No, stick around. Well, so, and then eventually I did stay and witness the birth, if you will, of this monarch. And so when all was said and done, I zipped up the enclosure and I walked back in, only to find out that moments before my brother had died. So it just felt that it was a connection between that moment and this one. But again, it was strange because normally they don't stay. She stayed on my hand, and I've got it. I could video it. I got the video of she stayed there and then she went away. So and sort of took her time. So it's kind of, for me, it was kind of like, okay, I'm saying goodbye to my brother, you know. So, well, you can't help wondering that there's more to life, more to the universe than we know. And it's just, you know, am I just grasping at straws? You know, it's just, I'm trying to make sense of this. I don't know, but it certainly felt like it was this, I don't know, one of these mystical moments, one of these things that you can't explain. Why did they happen? And so we try to put explanations to them. So that's my explanation. It was my brother saying goodbye. I don't know. I feel hopeful that they'll make it, and that this beautiful animal will survive. You know, we're doing a lot of things into this world, and sometimes we're rather reckless. And hopefully by doing this, we're kind of encouraging, helping them survive.
So beautiful. There's a live look at our riverfront. We've had all that sunshine all week, but it looks like we are in for some showers this weekend. Colette Kennedy will have more for us right after the break. The local Humane Society has come to the rescue again to several dozen American strays. A plane carrying 73 dogs from the U.S. landed yesterday in Windsor. They come from shelters across the southern U.S. According to the Windsor-Essex Humane Society, rescue organizations there are overwhelmed with the number of strays in their care, a situation made worse after Hurricane Ida hit in late August. This is the second time in a matter of months that the Humane Society has received a plane load of dogs from the States. In August, 84 dogs were flown in from overloaded shelters in Texas. According to the organization, there are many people in our region eager to adopt, but it says the dogs will need some time to adjust to being Canadian and won't be ready to be adopted for a few weeks. I love a good adoption story, Colette, especially involving animals. I know you love animals too.
I absolutely do, and I'm so glad to hear that. And hopefully they'll get their forever homes soon once they adjust, as they say. And also just always a reminder that, you know, they need support. Our local shelters really need support, financial support, so that they can do these wonderful things and help these animals out. So really, really love to see that happening. You might love to see this happening, some of the heat that's just to the west of us. Okay, our temperature's not going up to 29 for tomorrow, but you see in Chicago, that's where it is. 17 right now in Thunder Bay, but I point it out because there's a warm front, a wide arcing warm front here. And so the hot spot in Ontario today was actually Thunder Bay. It was 24 degrees. And then just a couple of hours ago, the warm spot at that time, as Thunder Bay started to cool, moved over towards Sault Ste. Marie. And now it's down and it's Sarnia. And that's just because as we're seeing the temperatures changing as that front comes in. Current temperature in Windsor is 22, in Chatham-Kent 19, and that 22 there in Sarnia. There's a point. You know, there's a decimal point in there that makes Sarnia taking the cake there. Now, have a look at this on the radar and satellite imagery. So this is going to be where that stream of moisture is. So first of all, it's going to come into the Ottawa Valley and be pushing into southern Quebec before it's even having an impact on the lower Great Lakes. That is going to change, and it changes during the weekend. Now, we should get a pretty nice evening tonight for sure, and start to the day tomorrow. We'll have some sunshine, then some increasing high clouds, so still bright skies. But then as we start to get into the later afternoon and early evening, let's stop this at 6 p.m., still dry, but then we'll start to see some of those scattered showers and then heavier bands as we go into Sunday starting to move through. So the really heaviest stuff looks like it may pull just to the north, even to the north of Sarnia. But as we go through the weekend, this is the end of Sunday, we could be in that 15 to 20 millimeter range. Tonight, mild temperatures. Double digits for you for overnight lows. Tomorrow, there will be a little bit of humidity. So, okay, 25 might feel like 27, 28. And those temperatures stay above seasonal, daytime highs and overnight lows. But also that system is going to stick around for a few days there, Katerina.
Not too bad. I'll take as much of the little bit of sun as I can and kind of hide away for the other days. That's okay.
Enjoy to most of tomorrow. Looks pretty good.
Exactly. A good Saturday. Thanks so much, Colette.
You're welcome.
When we come back, rock climbers in Senegal are losing their cliffs to erosion. So we'll hear from the climbers right after the break. Global Affairs has shared a statement and photo from Michael Spavor. The Canadian who spent more than 1,000 days in a Chinese prison says he's overjoyed to be finally reunited with his family. He also says it's humbling as he begins to understand the continued support that they have received from Canadians and those around the world, adding, quote, "I'm appreciating being outside and the simple things around me." Avid rock climbers in Senegal are grappling with a unique challenge. They are slowly losing their favorite cliffs in Africa's westernmost shoreline to the sea. The region's construction boom is being blamed for the steady coastal erosion, and the local community of climbers see that as more than just a threat to the future of their sport.
When we think about this small scene of climbers, let's say Senegalese climbers that are really starting to get involved into this beautiful sport, and at the same time we have the construction going on, which will automatically kind of restrict us from climbing. It's very, very, very sad. I mean, this is a beautiful spot to climb, and the opportunity also for Senegalese climbers to be seen also on the international scene is definitely not going to happen if we don't have access to this climbing spot. When you come over here, it's quiet, you get the nature around, and if things are getting built all over the place, well, that is definitely not going to be positive for the nature as well.
Look at this, how amazing it is to be able to be here with our friends, to enjoy every time here. But I think we are happy to be here, and it would be very precious to give it better than we find it to our children. And this is my main goal, to protect this area for the coming generation.
That is it for CBC Windsor News. For news anytime, you can go to our website, cbc.ca/Windsor. You can find us on social as well, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Have a great night and a wonderful weekend.